Hi, I'm Mike Crabb.
And I'm Lori Schultz. Welcome to the show.
We'll have some caffeinated conversation.
And maybe some special guests along the way.
Who knows where the conversation will go? You're out for coffee with Mike and Lori. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first podcast episode of Out for Coffee with Mike and Lori. We're really glad you guys joined us today. How are you, Lori?
I'm well, Michael. And yourself?
Good. You're having a nice morning?
I'm having a caffeinated morning.
How do you take your coffee?
There's lots in here. I take my coffee wet and hot and one cream and one stevia. And it has to be a good dark roast coffee.
A good dark roast.
So I have my stevia and my cream in here in my Yeti. I have Yeti to finish it.
Wonderful.
I'm sorry. And then I have more.
It's too early.
I have more.
In case that's not enough,
All right.
You got your giant urn.
In case it's not enough. My giant urn. Are they ashes? Is it coffee? Who knows?
One could only hope. Well, I got mine. It's just 2 sugar this morning. I needed to be a little darker. So normally I put a little cream in there, but I went with the 2 sugar. So anyways, good morning, Lori. Good morning to all of our listeners.
Good morning.
And thank you so much for joining us. So we want to talk a bit about what brought us here today. So Lori and I, we've been friends for what is it? We decided, and we're coming up on 6 years now. We met through our work at the theater together. When I was the general manager at the theater, Lori and her class would come once a week to help me out, and that's how Lori and I became buddies. So
we worked on some sets and some props,
all sorts of stuff. So yeah, every week they would come and they would help us with painting, set and props, and crafting and all sorts of tiding and stuff like that. So Lori and I always had a lot of laughs. We got a lot of work done at the same time. So it was a good partnership, and we realized, hey, you can work together with people and have a really great time while you're at it. So as we grew together and we worked for a few years, we realized that we enjoy each other's company so much, because when we get together for stuff like coffee, we never really actually know where the conversation's going to end up. And we thought this would be a really fun premise for getting together, because since we can't really do any of that right now anyways, we thought this would be a nice thing for us to look forward to. So we thought this would be fun. So what do you think, Lori?
Well, we had that opportunity back in the fall of 2020 to judge the Oxford's Got Talent together. And we realized, also with, of course, Dan Henry from Heart FM. But you and I talked afterward in the parking lot about, we should have our own show, kind of jokingly, but also kind of seriously. And I think that's kind of where the idea started, right there in the parking lot of Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Oxford.
Well, and then
I think we should also mention, Mike, that we are doing this from home.
Yes, we are, because
we're doing this from home.
I'm literally
Mike's
sitting in my closet because I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. And poor Kevin's out in the other room. He's super quiet, and this is the quietest room I could find right now, is my closet.
Well, so I'm in my basement, and my cat just jumped onto the table. So if you happen to see a cat head walk, I'm going to do my best to keep him away. But hey, it's COVID, baby. This is what happens when you work from home.
We got to do what we got to do. Not ideal situations, because there's nothing quite like having coffee with somebody. And we will get there one day where we can be together again and have a proper cup of coffee. But in the meantime, we were just too excited to start to chat and share some of our personal stories and just have a nice cup of coffee with one another. And that'll give us something to look forward to one day. So
at least I'm wearing pants, right?
Are you?
You just never know when you're working from Zoom.
I'll take your word for it.
You don't know for sure, but yeah, I am.
So the premise behind this, you're right. When we did the talent show at Big Brothers Big Sisters, we really had a lot of fun participating in that, and to be able to see all these wonderfully talented people in such a wide array, kind of what started that conversation was as we were leaving. It's like, could you imagine me doing half of those things or you doing half of those things? It would be ridiculous. It would be completely terrible talent time. And that kind of turned into a little bit of a premise there of like, well, why can't we just be goofy and do some stuff? So maybe one day people can share their talents with us and we will see if we can try to recreate them. So stay
I'm going to
tuned for
do it
that.
like an overarch backwalk thing, like the girl in The Exorcist. It's going to be rad.
Oh,
yeah.
I'd love to see it. Down the stairs?
Maybe. Maybe. I'll see if I can get one of the cats to hold the camera for me.
All right.
I don't know.
All right, let's go for it. So that's what brought us together today. And then after, and this is why I love working so much with Lori, is that when you get talking, you really get brainstorming. So we've come up with some other ideas, and we're not going to go into too much detail because we do want to share with you a little bit later as we get some more details. But we have got some things worked out for the future that are just going to be so much fun. And outside of our podcast, we're going to start doing some really pumping up our YouTube channel, because we have so many wonderful people throughout the community that Lori and I are friends with, that we are going to go and we're going to hang out with some of our friends. And some of them happen to own businesses. So we're going to do a lot of fun things with them and their businesses. And we'll tease you a bit about it in the future. But until the world's better, we can't go do any of those things. So until then, we're going to hang out and we're just going to talk about it instead. So,
sounds like fun, Mike.
Right? So
tell us about all the things we can't do.
Yeah, we're going to sit here. We're going to make a to-do list for the future. That's all this podcast is just to-do list for the future. So a part of this story of Lori and I coming together with this idea was we had a meeting, because Lori and I, we both volunteer at the theater. I'm the vice president and volunteer.
Theater Woodstock.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Theater Woodstock, absolutely. And Lori, what are your roles on the board?
I am the director of publicity and the special events coordinator.
So Lori and I work together at Theater Woodstock on the board to, work on our respective things and spend time there with our friends and do lots of volunteering. And through one of our board meetings, Lori and I were having a conversation about this and what we want to do. And at that point, there was our tech director there. Our tech director at Theater Woodstock, his name is Rob McLaughlin. And Rob does an incredible job of lighting and sound design and all those technical abilities. And when when Lori and I were sharing our thoughts for this project, Rob was there and he was showing me on his iPad all his technical abilities for cell phone recordings and multi-angled video capture and stuff like that. And Lori and I shared with Rob some of our ideas for this, and he thought it was a really fun thing. So first thing Rob did was really stepped up, and he composed that introduction song you guys heard when you came in. He wrote that for us. How incredible is that? So Lori, why don't we bring Rob out to say hi and thank you so much, and for telling him how much we appreciate him being part of the team. Rob, hey buddy, how are you?
Hi guys,
Yay,
how you doing?
Rob, yay, Tech Wizard. Rob is our Tech Wizard. That's his name. His name from now on, Tech Wizard Rob, in the booth or at home.
So tell us a bit about yourself,
He's wearing
Rob.
pants. Maybe
Well,
he's not. I don't know.
Thanks very much, first of all, for
Rob.
I know, I'm going to try to behave myself.
Do you need to though? I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. But seriously, thank you for the invite to be a part of this little project and all the stuff that's going on.
Absolutely.
And, I guess, behind the scenes, somebody's got to be either pulling the strings or whatever. So that's kind of going to be my role around here. Just to hide out in the background, and we'll make sure all the video works and the audio works. And hopefully at some point we're going to be able to connect some guests maybe and see what we're doing. Lots of different challenges, of course, going on, but there are a lot of technical solutions to those challenges. And so I'm very happy to be able to bring some of those technical things into this project.
Well, we're really glad for
you
it too.
folks at home have no idea. Sorry, Mike. You folks at home have no idea how patient both Rob and Mike are. If you know me personally, you know that tech is not my jam. But I'm doing this from home on my laptop. No, it's a MacBook. Sorry. different. And I don't know, there's stuff. There's a microphone here. You can see it. There's lighting. There's all this other stuff. And I'm flying solo here.
You're doing a fine job, Lori. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Rob. Thank you for your patience.
Well, this is all, again, all the challenge of this whole COVID thing. And it'd be really nice to all sit in the same room and work around at the same table or whatnot, but it just can't be done so much today. And so we got to take advantage of what we've got. But luckily, as I said, we've got lots of technical toys, shall we say. And as I said, I'm just happy to be the guy playing with the toys in the background here.
And we're really grateful for it because when we were talking originally, I kind of shared with Rob, with my limited technical abilities, this is how I would manage something like this. And I'm telling him, and he's kind of looking at me like, there's a much easier way to do that, And that's when he brings out his iPad to start showing me, and my mind's like, oh my goodness, look at all this opportunity. So you're introducing us to things that I never would have thought I would have been learning about. So thank you so much, Rob, for joining us. He's going to continue to join us for our episodes. He's going to pop in with his 2 cents here and there. We're going to get him to share some embarrassing stories or something one day, I bet. So stay tuned to learn more about Rob. But in the meantime, thanks for joining us, Rob.
Thanks very much. I won't be very far away.
So today, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about how we did come to meet. So a lot of people who do know me know I am very passionate about Theatre Woodstock and stages and our youth theatre program. And when we had announced that we were wanting to host this podcast, I received a lot of excited feedback because people thought it was specifically a theater podcast. And we're absolutely going to be talking about it because I can't not talk about it once in a while. But we thought this would be a really fitting theme for our opening episode because that is what brought us all so close together. So with our respected roles at the theater, we get to spend a lot of time together. Lori, do you have a particular theater memory that comes to mind from Theatre Woodstock that you want to share?
Do I ever? I have a lot, actually. But the one thing that I was pretty excited about, I remember one day just coming to the board saying, what would you think about if we ever got Sean McCann from Great Big Sea to come to the theater? I don't know what he's doing these days, but I know Great Big Sea is no longer together. I hear he does solo shows. Would you be interested? And if you don't know Sean McCann, he actually has quite a career right now speaking, and he's a huge mental health advocate and addictions recovery advocate. He has his own story, and he goes from place to place. He and his wife just wrote a book, which is great. And so I thought, let's just see what he's doing. And so I looked up, I literally Googled how to book Sean McCann. And stuff came up. So I contacted his person and right away got a response, and kind of that's where the magic happened. And back in September of 2019, Sean came to the theater and blew everybody away, and it was awesome.
It was such
Sean
an
doesn't
incredible
realize
show.
this. He doesn't know this, but when I was about 20-ish years old, I was pretty sure I was going to marry Sean McCann. Of course, I didn't open with that when I met him. Hi, Sean. We're not married yet. Can you fix it? No. But it's really cool because I was a massive Great Big Sea fan. If anybody knows me and knew me back then, you would be able to attest to this. Huge Great Big Sea fan. So this was a really big deal for me to be able to organize this and have him come. And when Pete Dunbar was there and he introduced, this is Laurie Schultz, and Sean's like, oh, so you're Laurie Schultz. And I'm thinking, oh, he knows me? Probably because of the 10,000 emails I had to send to his people. But
no, it was personal.
Neat. We got to.
He's like, the Laurie Schultz is finally reaching out to me.
That's right. Sean, if you happen to ever be hearing this, I'm so sorry.
And please do come back.
It was a great show.
Because,
yes,
I would say.
It was a wonderful show.
It was such a good show. Now, admittedly, I wouldn't consider myself a fan of Great Big Sea because they just don't make it into my daily rotation of music. So when
How
Lori
dare
was
you.
sharing, I know, how Canadian am I? Ugh. I need to fix that, eh? You can give me a lesson, Lori. We but when Lori was sharing how excited she was, I started to look into Sean, and I realized that we were on to something really fun here. So Kevin and I went to go see his show, and it was such a wonderful show. And he did share his struggles with mental health and some of the other things he was going through. And so it was a really interesting balance of true story and struggle and growth that came from it, paired with some really beautiful songs. And some of the songs of which were inspired by the struggles that he went through. And I was a little worried it was going to be a heavy evening, but it really wasn't. He is such a performer. He came out to the audience. You felt like he was singing directly to you. It was just a great show. So yeah, that I will absolutely put up as one of my favorite theater memories too. It was a really good time. Can I tell you one of my most memorable theater memories?
Yes.
So it was a production. So I had to, in my time at the theater, I had to produce the kid shows, which meant you have to get like all the set props, costumes, and do all the scheduling and stuff like that. And so I would spend most of my days working on set props and getting costumes together. Twice, I dropped a gallon of paint. One time was in the green room. And I think your class was there, Lori. And I dropped this gallon of paint and it just ran all over the green room. And I was panicking because the floors are white. So you don't want it to be all black paint all over it. And I was going around with 2 dustpans trying to scoop it up and put it back into the can. And then the other time I dropped it, I opened up my car door and it spilled out the back car and spilled all over the parking lot. So I had to get the city on board to help us clean it up. So I don't know why that counts as one of my favorite theater memories. It just... probably one of my more haunting ones because they were both quite mortifying at the time. But
speaking
yeah.
Well, speaking of haunting ones, can I just throw in when we did all those props for the haunted house that the theater did in conjunction with the museum?
Oh, so good, eh? Yeah. So
that was fantastic. That's another of my memories.
The theater, not the theater, the museum approached us at the theater about wanting to host a haunted house. And we could help with the performers and some of the set and props and stuff. And then we would host it at the museum. And if you haven't seen the Woodstock Museum before, it is this beautiful heritage site, very old building. They wanted to spook it all up. So I needed all sorts of different Halloween spooky things. And knowing Lori is a fan of the spooks, I had her and her class we brought them bags full of limbs, arms and legs.
Severed limbs.
Yeah.
From the dollar store.
And I said, can you do something with these? Because I wanted to make this wall just covered in limbs. And Lori and her class, I was very impressed. Lori took this very seriously, and the limbs needed to be painted as different levels of decompression. Not decompression, decomposition, I mean.
Decomposure. Decomposure.
Hold on. I'm getting a sip of coffee.
I haven't had enough of this. Hold on.
Yeah.
A little sip of coffee.
Everyone, take a moment to sip your coffee.
Decomposition.
Decomposition.
Really, I do take severed limbs very seriously.
And it was kind of concerning because this was our early days of working together. I'm like, whoa, this lady. So, but what it was really cool was I had this big black wall just covered with chains and limbs. And the idea is that there was some secret holes in the walls. So actors would stand behind and they would have their hands hanging through these holes. So as the guests would walk by, they would just see all these fake limbs on the wall, but some of them would actually reach out to grab you. It was actually a really cool effect. I had a lot of fun with that. Yeah, that was a really good time.
Maybe we might have some pictures of that we could put up either on, website or something, or I don't know.
Yeah. Check out our socials.
We don't have a website. What am I talking about? On that website we don't have.
One day. Things to aim for.
Page.
Yeah.
Yes. Growth mindset.
Yeah. So, that was a pretty silly time. Hey, Rob, do you have any theater stories, or do you have any tech stories? Do you have any tech nightmares that happened? I love a good something went wrong, and this is how we all went crazy about it. Do you have any of those?
Uh, well, probably the very typical scenario that happens because as part of productions, particularly with the kids' productions, we run 16 wireless microphones, as you guys know, where microphones are, kids are wearing the little wireless microphone on the side of their face sort of thing, and they got a belt pack. And it's all done wirelessly from stage. Now, on my program, I usually always insist on getting a list of all of the kids and the actors that are playing different parts and what body pack they are wearing based on numbers, just from 1 to 16 sort of thing. And we had an issue one night, I remember very clearly, with one of the mics wasn't working. And so they decided to put that body pack onto the child who was wearing the mic that wasn't working. And there was a miscommunication. I'm sitting at the back of the auditorium, and it's not always the easiest to communicate. I mean, we use headsets and whatnot to communicate backstage, but it's not always the easiest to do. And there's a lot of frantic things going on. And so sure enough, this one actor is wearing from my records and my information, was wearing the wrong body pack. And so I'm trying to turn microphones on and off as kids appear on stage and make sure their microphone's working. And then I turn them off as they leave the stage so that, well, of course, as things would happen, this person left the stage and I didn't realize they were wearing a different body pack. And so their microphone is live. And as they walk out across the stage, backstage, you hear this conversation with their friend about, oh, that went really well, and blah, blah. This is, through the whole PA.
Broadcast over the entire auditorium.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember very specifically, about 3 rows ahead of me, because I'm working in the back row of the theater, and about 3 or 4 rows ahead of me, is Pete Dunbar and his wife, who have come to see the production that night. And I see at the corner of my eye, Pete whips around and says, "You've got a microphone backstage."
For those that don't know Pete is our president at Theatre Woodstock, as well as our past tech director. So if somebody would catch it.
Yeah,
so I mean, I'm sure, Pete was sitting in the audience with half an ear on, what I was doing, and was I pulling my weight. And sure enough, in the middle of this production, I miss a cue for a microphone, and this young kid is backstage going on and on about, I don't know, fingernail polish or something. And meanwhile,
damn it, Rob,
I'm frantically trying to find out where this is coming from,
which microphone it is.
Yeah, but I mean, those kind of things happen, but it's what it is.
It's what makes theater so fun.
Oh,
it
absolutely.
is incredibly stressful as it's happening, but the second it's over, you're like, oh, can we laugh now?
And I have to admit, those kids' productions are the ones I enjoy the most, because I just I am always thoroughly impressed. If you're listening today or you're watching today and you've never come out to Theatre Woodstock to see some of the productions going, hopefully in the not too distant future, we're going to be able to get back on stage and get productions going again. But, you should make a point of coming out, because the productions that these kids put on are absolutely amazing. And, notwithstanding the tech guy who messes up every once in a while, but no, they do great stuff. And,
they really do. And when I hear High School Musical, you're kind of like, all right, let's go see a High School Musical, because it's all high school students. But it's jaw-dropping to see what these kids do.
It really is amazing. They do fantastic work. And the high school kids are great. I mean, one of the first productions that I worked on when I came to the theater was Grease. And I remember sort of seeing the paperwork in advance of, we're gearing up to do Grease, and I immediately thought, oh, that's right up my alley. I'd love to be involved in that particular project. and that was done by the high school kids, and what a show that was. It was just amazing.
Well, it's interesting too that rings a little bell for you because all those kids went to Rydell High. And what do you do in your free time, Rob?
Yeah, in my free time, I play the piano for an oldies dance band, and that band is called Rob and the Rydells. And you're absolutely right. We took the name from Rydell High
Connection.
in the movie Grease. Yeah, it's a small world, isn't it? It's amazing. Yeah, some connection there. So yeah,
I love it.
That's kind of my sideline, if you will.
That's great. And Grease was actually my final show at the theater before I moved on and started working at United Way. Excellent. My final production was Grease, and I am so proud of that show. It was such a great time. Yeah. And one of the positions I worried about as producer is who's going to be our tech person, because it's really tough to find people who can have that ear for listening to microphones and know when to make those adjustments and stuff. And that was every single show I've ever done. The tech position is always the toughest one to find. So the fact that Rob came to us and was like, I'm ready to work, was a godsend, except for that thing he did with the microphones. We never invited him back again. He lost.
No kidding.
No, you're out.
Hey, can I add something about Grease?
Go for it.
Completely not theater related, but have either of you seen Grease 2? The movie?
I will tell you tried to make me watch it, and I got to a song about biology, and I said, this is for another day.
Yeah. See, Grease 2, I saw that first when I was a kid.
Oh.
And I would watch it over and over and over again. It has Michelle Pfeiffer in it, and Adrian Zmed, who was in other things and is in lots of musicals. Sure. And Grease 2, don't hate me. I don't need any hate mail from any of you out there, but I like Grease 2 better than Grease.
Oops.
Please do not egg my house.
Ooh.
Y'all know what my house is. It's the one that's got the liquid pumpkin on the step right now.
It's kind of hard to beat Olivia and Mr. Travolta, though. I don't know.
As much as I love Michelle Pfeiffer, no. Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer, no.
Listen, that to me, I saw it first. So Grease was the sequel to me, and I'm like, what is this? That's not the song.
Who
you're
are all
referring
these
to
30-year-olds acting?
Biology was called. It was called Reproduction. That was the song you were referring to.
Right. Yeah. How could I forget?
Oh well.
Anyway, I just thought I'd throw all that in there because Grease 2. If you haven't seen it, folks, go out and check it out because it's probably horrid. But when I was like 8, it was great, and it's still great because I have the soundtrack. I know there's at least one other person out there who loves Grease 2.
Are you going to out them? Who are they? I need to talk to them.
Well, no. Okay. I don't. Send us an email. Send us an email, Mike and Lori Socials at gmail.com, and back me up here. Somebody back me up.
All right. Yeah. If you watch Grease 2, let us know on our Facebook page and Instagram, and I will help you find counseling. Okay. I'm just kidding.
Great, guys.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our cup of our coffee, I think. How you doing with your coffee? Are you almost gone, Lauren?
I still have lots in here, but that's okay. It's still hot, and because the Yeti kept it hot. So I'll drink it all day.
Well, if we're to leave an episode, we should leave it hot, I guess. So why don't everyone should join us for our next episode? What do you think we should talk about next episode, Lori?
Well, apparently that what I just divulged to you about Grease 2, apparently you think it should be embarrassing for me to do that. I'm not embarrassed by that, but there are many other things that have made me blush just a little bit. I'm not easily embarrassed, but sometimes there are things that come out of my mouth that I have no idea how they either got into my brain and came out of the mouth or got into the brain to begin with. And I would like to maybe share some of those. And I know you've got them too, Mike.
Oh, there's
and maybe even
there.
Rob does.
I bet Rob has a thing or two as well. So
we should talk about some embarrassing things.
We should share some embarrassing stories. So everyone, if you haven't yet, please share your morning cup of coffee with us on our social media page. Tag us in it. Let us know what you think of the show so far. If there's any topics in particular you would love for us to talk about in the future, please don't hesitate to let us know. We would like to give a big shout out to all our friends at Theatre Woodstock for all the support they've given us on a personal level, as well as by giving us the opportunity to bring me, Lori, and Rob together the universe speaks to us some days, and I feel like this is one of those times. So I appreciate the theater community and getting us to where we are today. So join us next week. We're going to be sharing some embarrassing stories, and we look forward to you coming out for coffee. That's where you say with Mike and Lori.
With Mike and Lori.
See you next time.
And I'm
guys.
Lori. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Do you have questions, comments, or ideas for a future show? Reach out to Mike and Lori on their social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or email us at mikeandlorisocials@gmail.com.